hope you guys have gotten out there and were able to catch, I don't know, Dwayne, Rick, Paul, if you caught some of the videos that I've made putting out there. I've done some free agent profiles that are on there on Ifatu Melifanu, Derek Barnes, Kevin Zeitler. So go ahead, check out the page and look on that. And yeah, and if you want to support the UDFA of sports podcasting, liking, sharing, and commenting, like the Villain Squad Facebook page is our page right here. And it's just ran by me, blue chipper guy sitting at his house, supporting my son with autism. You know, I'm not Woodward Sports. I'm not anything like that. I'm just a fan that wants to keep up on all of the Lions news with everybody. And you can support us just by going to the page and like that Derek Barnes video that I made, the free agent profile. I'd like you to check that out. And the way you can support is just hit the like button on that video and put a comment on there. Like, I want to know who you want to keep free agency wise in the comments and join the conversation. That's what you got to do. That's how you can support. You don't even have to, like, I don't want your money. I don't want anything like that. I want you guys to join the conversation. That's why I started this podcast in the first place. That's why I started talking Lions, 4 years ago, even when it was the Main Event 365 with Main Event Mike. So I love being able to talk some football, and then, but I also don't want to cram it down your throat either. And I wanted to make sure that it came in during, things that happen that are relevant to the situation. And right now, we are headed straight into the draft season. And this is, a lot of people, this is like the favorite time of year. It's like Christmas time, It's like Bear fans, man. They come out the woodworks right now, and they're about ready to go 16-1. They got Ben Johnson now. And here we are. Everybody gets to dream the impossible dream. Got a couple new people in here. What up, Mike Fisher? What's up, John?
You like that?
I like that. Antoinette is in the house. Fly, Lions, fly. So Brad Holmes spoke to the media, and I want to get into that. Let's chomp on that just a little bit. Let's get it in there. Brad Holmes talking to the media, and I'm going to address some things that were in here before we even get into that. Let's, I wanted Myles Garrett, okay? I bought into Myles Garrett, but Andrew Berry comes right out again. And, if the bad guy is out there, I got to give you your flowers, man. You're smart. I'm dumb. I bought into it. I'm going to pump the brakes on the Myles Garrett thing because I listened to this already. I've already looked at this, and I didn't get any feeling that Brad Holmes is going to go out there and make a big trade. He squashed that idea in my mind, and I think that it probably has more to do with, like, you're not going to speak about players that aren't available, and Andrew Berry made it very clear that he didn't want to trade Myles Garrett. Now, that just means that situation's going to get ugly. We want to talk about who's in control of that Myles Garrett situation. We'll see, because that's what the power play is. That's what we're doing here, right? The power play is going to be Myles Garrett ain't going to play this year, okay? He ain't going to go and, he's going to be under that contract. I don't know if they'll redo a deal and make, they might pay him $50 million a year to be their DN when they restructure a contract somehow. I don't know what they're going to do there, but to me, all signs point towards Myles Garrett isn't going to play the season. They're going to hold him hostage. And we're going to get into that because Dan Campbell said some interesting things too that I wanted to be able to get into. But here's Brad Holmes.
Yeah, so last year with the secondary, I think I said it after the draft that, we have been looking to add future in youth at the corner position for really since we have been there. And it just never lined up. We just, we're not a needs-based drafting team. We just, get the best football player for us. So we don't really get too fixated on positions, but I will say that one, it just kind of lined up perfectly because of what we went through during that previous season where we got so low on secondary depth that it just happened to line up that, okay, these are players that we really, really like, just football players we really like, and just happen to be, we happen to be able to double up at the corner position. So it just lined up that way, but we never really get too fixated on just like it's a certain position. I think I made it pretty clear that, the trenches are always going to be a priority. For us, I just think that's where the game is won. Dan and I are aligned on that, and you just can never really have enough of those guys. But it's probably a long-winded answer, but hopefully that gives you, yeah.
Yeah, so talking about the cornerback room right there. They would tell you is like, we go best player available, right? That's what he says. We're going to go best player available. And last year they drafted 2 cornerbacks, right? And with the 2 cornerbacks, you'd be like, well, you're not drafting best player available. But, you got to look at, when you look at best player available, if you trade up, you're not trying to get best player available, are you? Right? You're not getting best player available. You're getting the player that you want. So last year, they moved up and they got one of those blue chipper guys that Brad Holmes likes to talk about in Terrion Arnold. Right? That was the cornerback that they wanted. You can't tell me that, we just went best player available. We traded up. And then we really looked at it and thought about it. No, they went up and got their guy. So, yes, they did draft for need. If you trade up, you're drafting something that you either a player that you covet or it's a position of need. Cornerback was definitely a position of need last year. And he traded up to get Terrion Arnold. So that they drafted for need. Now, in the second round, it came back around. I don't think they expected Ennis Rakestraw to be there. I remember doing draft profiles on him. And a lot of people had him rated at the end of this of the first round, which is the main reason there's 0 chance I'm going to give up on this guy. Steve says Russell even put Garrett on the Lions team in his Madden. You know what? How did you know? How did you know, Steve? Come on, man. Yeah, I really, really like Myles Garrett. I mean, I'm not gonna pull no punches on that. I love Myles Garrett. Like, I would have to say that Myles Garrett is probably my favorite non-Lion. And just the thought of him even, having a small chance. So you're telling me there's a chance? That made me happy to be able to talk about that for a little bit. And maybe everybody hit it at nauseum. And I apologize if you're sick of the trade rumors and all that stuff. But we're going to go and we're going to get into this thing. And you find out why I am way pumping my brakes on that. Because it just isn't going to happen. I can kind of see where Brad Holmes is going to go right here. But that was him talking about the cornerbacks and talking about how we haven't ignored the pass rushing room. So let's get into it a little bit further and we'll talk about it. Oh, the audio is awful on this. Can't even hear the damn question.
Yeah, no, it's a good question because there are a lot of decisions that we have to make because we're at the juncture with our roster right now that we have identified a lot of young core pieces that we want to keep around, and unfortunately that's the tough part is that you got to make decisions on other players, contractually that you might not be able to keep that you want to keep. So it's not, more so due to you don't want to have the players anymore, but you just can't have everybody. I really kind of looked at it just for this year that, okay, yeah, we had the first round pick in 21 that we already, basically rewarded already. But, 22 we had 2 1s, in 23 we had 2 1s. Well, in 23 we had 2 2s that year too that we had graded as first-round picks. So that's like 7 first-round picks in total that all players that, yeah, we like them, but then you start adding on the other non-first-round picks of the St. Browns, that already got rewarded. You got a Kirby Joseph that was a third, you know what I mean? So that stuff starts adding up, and you got to make some tough decisions. We've already started a lot of that work already in terms of the preparation and planning, forecasting, because whatever you do this year is going to impact financially the next year after as well. So it's a lot of work to be done on that front. What's that?
Yeah. I mean, there's the great point right there, and this is why it's like I'm a fan, right? So when you see the name like a Garrett or whatever, you immediately, oh yeah, we need to go and get that guy. What are we gonna do? But then here's Brad Holmes reeling that guy back in, and I know there's other people like me. Reel us back in, and then you realize you do want to keep Kirby Joseph. Do you want to sacrifice any of those players? You're going to keep Aiden Hutchinson, right? And that, we do have a lot of cap room, right? They may have upwards of $70 million when it's all said and done. And they won't have $70 million but the new league year starts on March 12th, and when that league year starts, that money will roll over from last year. So somewhere in the neighborhood of $70 million, over $70 million, they'll have to work with. But you do have some giant contracts that are going to be coming up next year. Lots of cap in there. And obviously, Brad Holmes doesn't want to mortgage the future yet. We're still at a point where the salary cap is in a manageable spot. You don't have to go and convert that base salary to signing bonus and, run that credit card up yet. And as we get into this free agency, maybe we don't go get a whole bunch of guys that are, that are going to run up the price tag.
No, it doesn't. I mean, obviously the free agency component, because we have so much that's upcoming, I don't really foresee us being, I don't know what the line is of big free agency. I know that you guys have questioned me in the past about how much, what is a big spend in free agency? Well, a $6 million guy, $8 million, $10 million, $12 million, that's not pocket change, which we've done that in the past. So I don't know if that's the 15 to 20. I don't know what that number is, but obviously, it does put a limit to how much you can actually spend externally in free agency when you're trying to keep your guys that, because what you want to do is you want to keep the known good players, and you don't want to compromise them to overspend on unknowns.
You don't want to compromise what you're spending for the unknowns.
Well, why do you say one high end? I know, but why do you stop at one high-end edge rusher? Why not two or three or exactly? Exactly. That's my point. Is, look, yes, I mean, I'm asking that in seriousness, but also transparently letting you know, like, look, we're not just looking for one high-end rusher. Well, we have a high-end rusher now. We want to have another one, yes, but we'd like to have 3 or 4 high-end rushers. But that's just not always the reality of what you're able to do. So it's definitely not being ignored. Look, I want to say all the conversations that I have with GMs, throughout the year when we're bouncing off each other, what you need or what we need to improve our roster. I can't remember a time where pass rushers ever been omitted. I mean, that's what everybody wants that. So, it's not going to be ignored. I don't know. Again, I don't know if that's the one player away. I think I've been pretty clear about that part because that one player on top of everything else that you have, and what you're definitely is that one player is not going to get hurt. That one player is not going to get hurt. So, but say that one player does not get hurt. Well, what if you have the attrition that we suffered this past season, where now does that one player make as much of a difference with all the attrition that you're out? So you got to look at all those different components. But no, pass rush will never be ignored. It never has been. But it's just those guys are hard to acquire.
Man,
hold on.
That just seems like that. Brad Holmes is so damn cool, but that was like the nicest way to say, listen, guys, you got to let me do what I do, right? Because you can go out and buy Myles Garrett. You can, right? You can go out and buy him. Then you have 2 of those bona fide dudes. But he's like, listen, man, I draft. Drafting is what I do. And if we can get 3 or 4 of these Myles Garrett guys on the team, then that's what he's going to go do. So he ain't going to trade those draft picks unless they can make that all work, because we want to keep our own guys more than we want to get a stud from some other team. That's why I'm out on a limb for Carlton Davis. They need to bring back Carlton Davis. And I know that there's other free agent cornerbacks that are out there. Good. That's fine. DJ Reed, that's fine. That's a great free agent cornerback, right? You get Javarius Ward. That's great, if you could pick up that guy. But out of all of those guys, Carlton Davis is still in that pocket. And the fact that he was here last year, he knows the culture, he's here, that carries more weight. That's why Carlton Davis, you bring back your guys. Bring back the guys that made it what it was. And stop acting like because they lost the last game. And I understand choking the playoffs. Okay, you want to get the clown in there. But here's the thing. With 17 guys on injured reserve, I'm going to look at the positive more than I'm going to look at the negative. They won 15 games with 17 defensive players on IR. Like, that's more positive than the injuries finally catching up to you in the playoff game. And, you lost. Would the Lions have won the game with Aiden Hutchinson healthy in there? I mean, I don't know. I think the chances is a lot better. So, the Lions aren't going to get that unlucky next year. What happened with them with 24 injured reserve guys? That goes way beyond, all you do is get injured reserve guys. And it's way beyond that. There was freak accidents on top of everything else right there. So what Brad's saying is like, man, we're gonna be fine, and we're gonna continue to do what we're doing, building the back end of this roster. And we won 15 games because Brad Holmes is the way that he is. He doesn't listen to jokesters like me. Oh, you need to go and get the next guy. And you know what? I'm getting smarter as we go along. I'm not going to be falling for much of the stuff. I used to fall for all of them. And now there's just a couple guys that get me excited about the pass rush. And, I don't even think I'm going to fall for that no more because Brad Holmes is staying the course. He's staying the course. He's proven that's what he's doing. Oh, Steve. Carlton Davis wants to be in Green Bay. You saw him at Tim Hortons getting some of them crumpets. You wish. If you can land Carlton Davis, that's good for you. Carlton Davis is a good cornerback. He played well for us last year. And, you got to go with your plan, but just judging by what Brad Holmes is saying right here, it tells me that they're going to value Carlton Davis more than any cornerback that's in free agency right now. That would be the home run for them because he's familiar and he's as good as all those other guys. So, all right, Brad, tell me some more.
Go ahead. Yeah, look, I've always been kind of close to the vest about talking about strengths and weaknesses in the draft because it's very subjective. Some people might think, oh, yeah, this is strong. Some people might think, no, it's not as strong. But no, like this one here, me and Ray Agnew were just kind of looking at the totality of just, it's a lot deeper than what we can remember, at least in the past couple years, and that's both inside and out for sure.
How do you balance the idea of, like, you talked about the attrition, how do you balance, like, the guys that were coming back with perceived need?
Yeah, that's a really good question because, me and Dan are talking about it, like, when you're looking at, like, when you're trying to plan for free agency and, what you're trying to do, a lot of it is based on because of the injuries. Like, I was looking at our game versus Arizona. Was at like week 3, and we're looking at a free agent on the offensive side of the ball, and that was really the first time that I had seen our defense at that time, and it was like, wow, I forgot how good it was. Not saying there was not room for improvement. Of course it is. It always is. But, it was humming pretty good, both run and pass. But, when that attrition and a lot of long-term injuries, stuff that can go on through the season. So, yeah, that does affect it. So it's kind of like, man, I wish it was something like we just ignored something but injuries are part of the game. Everybody's dealing with it, and but it does affect some things that you wish you didn't have to do, but you got to do what's best for the team. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna get to you, and then go ahead.
You like that?
A quarterback? Yeah, I think it's case by case. When it comes to that position, you got to know the background and, kind of what the history has been with, are you speaking of like a young quarterback or like a veteran? Yeah, I think it's case like take for example, like when we were able to acquire Jared Goff, right? Like, there's no question on his ability or, him throwing the football or being anticipatory or mental, physical toughness or anything that way. He just went through a period in his career where, he had some lumps and he was going through a tough time. And it was advantageous for both of us, us and the Rams, that we were able to acquire a player that was still young, that was still developing, and obviously has gotten a lot better. But so you look at that where, okay, he's got upside, we were never looking at, well, this is a guy that is at the end, but take case of like a Hendon Hooker that we drafted where, if you look at his trajectory or his past, kind of every step of the way, whether it was Virginia Tech, it wasn't an immediate, boom, he's on fire, he's the guy. Like, it took him a little while at Virginia. He got to use him a little while. So, and I feel like he's kind of in a similar position now. So, so I think it's case by case, but you have to know the player, you have to know the situation that player's in, and you have to be convicted on the skill set as well.
The Hendon Hooker.
I did say that he was
the Hendon Hooker, man. I listened to a lot of the narratives that are out there, and I listened to a lot of the other podcasts that are out there, and a lot of people just like, for one, they'll just throw Hendon Hooker into a trade. Now if we could get Myles Garrett, I would, say throw Hendon Hooker into a trade, right? If you're getting another elite player. But outside of that, it seems pretty clear that Brad Holmes drafted Hendon Hooker, and everybody that's like, oh, we wasted Hendon Hooker and got, well, Teddy Bridgewater played in the playoff game, so now he has no trade value. It's like, well, Brad Holmes doesn't want to trade him. They drafted him in the 3rd round. He's still got 2 more years left on his rookie contract. And I don't know if you guys were, watching these podcasts 4 years ago, but when you brought Jared Goff in, the talk was, who's going to be the backup quarterback? Who's going to be the backup? Who's going to be the backup? And then they come in and get 2 backups. They got Teddy Bridgewater, and they're developing a backup in Hendon Hooker, and everyone's like, well, he's a bust. I can't believe you wasted that pick on Hendon Hooker. It's like, how do you know you wasted it? How do people give up on players so damn fast? It's like, gosh, the guy's been like Giovanni Manu. They draft this guy. They use this year's 3rd round pick to trade up and get him last year. Giovanni Manu, and clearly goes right to the podium and says, yeah, we grabbed this player. He's got great physical attributes, and we wanted to develop him, and he's going to have kind of a redshirt year. And they do that. And then everybody's at the end of the year, when they pick them, oh, yeah, this is going to, man, wow, a developmental pick. Yeah, what are we going to do? Get to the end of the year, and now we're mad? He told you. Got a red shirt year. Why didn't he play? God, he couldn't even see the field in year 1. Yeah, that's what they told you. The guy came from like a boarding school or something. Real small school in Canada. And, I mean, you can't teach 6'8", 358 in the physical attributes that he has, but you got to teach him how to play football. And then everybody give up on him after 1 year. Colby Sorsdahl give up on after 2 years. Now, to me, it's 3 years, right? For me to want to even try to grade a guy, you got to play 3 years. Got to play 3 years. The jury is still out, really. 3 to 4 years. You really need to know what a guy's going to do. Darius Slay, awful first couple years, and then he finds, you got to learn how the NFL works. You got to learn where the locker room is, the cafeteria is, get your routines down. And how long that takes, that's different for everybody. So it's like, try not to give up on players too much right here, because he's talking about Hendon Hooker, and a lot of people have already given up on him. And the thing is, here's what's going to happen with Hendon Hooker, and you can cite me right here. February 26, 2025, the villain says this. Hendon Hooker is going to go into training camp this year. If the Lions don't trade him, he's going to go into training camp this year, and he's going to be a camp darling. He's going to light up some preseason games this year because he's had another year in the system. You could see it last year. It looked like a train wreck in his first game, and then, looked average in the second game, actually looked like a plus player in the third game. He's going to go into this preseason, and he's gonna light it up. He's gonna throw 2 touchdown passes against the number 3s, and everyone's gonna go, oh, look at that speed. He can run. He can make plays out of the pocket. He needs to replace Goff. So everybody that wants to trade, here's the trade stuff. We're going to go through the draft, and then we're going to get to this place, and you watch. Here's going to happen. The replace Goff is going to happen because Hendon Hooker is going to blow up preseason this year. It's February 26, 2025. That's my prediction. Hendon Hooker, lighten up the preseason. All right, man. I'm done. I'm done with, there.
It's going to be next, so I'm not trying to. I don't want to get to everybody. Go ahead. Yeah, that was. Look, I told Dan, obviously Dan doesn't have the time to go out on the road, but based on my experience in terms of coming up in the college draft space for so long, I mean, Tashard Choice, that's been a name that's held a lot of weight among college coaches. And obviously, he coached Jameer at Georgia Tech, which is huge, but he's one of those ones that, I would have never thought we would have been able to get, and we're just so glad that we're able to land him. So I think it's going to be huge. He's a fit, and not only Tashar, but all of our coaches that we have acquired. The numero uno is that he has to be a fit, and they're all fits. Obviously, they're great teachers. They're that passion to develop. They're great coaches, but they're fit. And so I just give Dan so much credit in terms of the patience that he displayed throughout this process. And when you lose two great coordinators like we did, and then other position coaches as well, to be able to add and replenish like we were able to, I thought that was just an incredible job by Dan. Yep. It doesn't really change. It doesn't really change anything from a roster building standpoint. You want to add as many explosive players as you can, regardless of which position it is. But it just kind of adds more firepower. I'm sure people love to have two Jahmyr Gibbs. If you could, there's not a lot of those type of players around there, though. But yeah, you just want to add as many explosive players as you can. I think we have a lot of them, but that's not going to stop us from looking to continue to add more. Does it matter what?
Yeah. Say hello to my little friend. You like that?
To me, no, it does not. No, it's an explosive gain either way. So yeah. Yep.
Does the attrition?
Yeah, I think it's.
Does the attrition change the approach to how you draft? Was the question.
That's been me and Dan's vision from the get-go, just like you said, but I think it's even more clear and more evident now how important and critical it is. The attrition that we face, this past season, being that, we have the depth that we had and that we were so focused on. I want to say it was the Chicago game when we went up to Chicago. We had a lot of injuries, so it looked like on the surface that we had a lot of second backup level players on defense, but a lot of those players that we had playing for us, we had like starter level grades on them. So we felt pretty good, but we'll continue. It made it more evident that depth is a huge critical piece, and that's throughout the entire year. So it might not be first wave of free agency, it might not be the draft, it might be a Pat O'Connor during the summer that you add, and you just never know that that's going to be that critical piece that you need from a depth standpoint.
Yeah. So when you're talking about like what Lion fan does a lot, and this is what a lot of the fan base does. is what happens is you lose the last game, right? You look at this Washington game, and then all of a sudden you take the entire season and then you throw it into the Washington box. And that's not the way that Brad Holmes sees it, right? You go to that last game and you're like, oh my God, they choked. And what he sees is the entire body of work and the fact that they did go through, all of those injuries, over 20 guys on IR. And because of the work that they did in the offseason by getting guys that could play that you might not have known the names of, they were able to win 15 games despite having all of those injuries. So when douchebags like me, I shouldn't say douche, sorry. When guys like me say, oh, we need to go get Myles Garrett because there's nobody else, he's thinking, yeah, well, Pat O'Connor did pretty well in reserve, and we're not going to have the attrition that we had last year because that's just horrible luck. We had almost double the second place in injury. So it's like they dealt with it. Like, it's not an excuse. They really did overcome it until they didn't, right? I mean, 17 guys injured and you're in a playoff game, and, kudos to the Washington Commanders for getting it done there, man. I'm not going to take anything away from them, but I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, it would have been a guaranteed win if Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil are out there healthy and Carlton Davis was out there and Amik Robertson didn't get injured. Our top two cornerbacks, our top two pass rushers. And I'm not going to say that you would have beat us if those guys were there. But injuries are part of it. And they lost. And they got to move on. But that's not going to change Brad Holmes' approach. The reason that they were 15-2 was because Brad Holmes built depth. And it's okay. And it's okay. Get back in there, Brad. I hear you. You're smarter than me. Teach me, oh, wise one.
T, man, he is obviously I'm probably a little biased. Obviously he coached me in college, and I'm not just saying this because I've always been a fan of him. I do think he is, if not the best, one of the best defensive line coaches in the league, and he is such a master of fundamentals. He can teach it very, very well. He holds players accountable. His players gravitate towards him. His players listen to him. He just has this uncanny ability to really connect and relate to his players, and they really got a good one. I hated to lose him, but just as an opportunity that he couldn't really pass up. I was happy for him, but he's a special coach. He really is, and I think it's going to bode the Patriots well.
Big shout out to Terrell Williams, man. We're going to miss you, brother. We're going to miss you. You badass. Yeah,
he just has to keep, continue to work on his fundamentals from a technique standpoint. He's wired right. He's got the right attitude. Again, he took some lumps early, had some aggressive penalties earlier. Like I said, at the end of the season, I did think the water's kind of calm, kind of halfway through. But and he's a very coachable player. He cares. He's passionate. He's prideful. So he's going to do the necessary things to continue making. He wants to be a great player. We want to be a great player. So I have no doubt that he's going to continue to develop. I thought Deshae did a great job with him, and I expect no different. But got a lot of excitement for Terrion
Arnold. Yeah, and there's another guy that people love to give up on already. I mean, the kid goes out there. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat he had a rough start. I mean, we watched the games. I mean, it seemed like he had a penalty. He'd give 70 yards of penalties because of holdings and pass interferences, using the hands. And that's a thing coming out of college. Like, the rules are different in college with how you can, put your hands on players, where you're allowed to make contact with them. And that's a learning curve for a lot of people. So Terrion struggled at the beginning of the year, but it definitely flattened out by the end of the year. It got to a point where people weren't even throwing over to his side anymore. And, you know, like I said, man, if Carlton Davis wouldn't have broke his jaw, that's a freak accident. And then Amik Robertson cracks his collarbone or whatever, his shoulder, on a second play in that Washington game. It's like, you know, those guys on the defense were like, God, man, I want to run it back. I would love to run it back. I want my boys with me. I want all my boys with me. And, but yeah, for sure. For sure. I think Terrion Arnold could be, I mean, you got to go 3 years with these guys. That's what the point I was bringing up earlier. I lost my train of thought there for a second. I apologize.
You've had enough of that shit.
But he's talking about Terrion Arnold, and I'm going to call out Lion fan that's trying to give up on this guy already. Stop it. Stop doing that. Stop giving up on player after 1 year. We have proven players that are going to go out, and they may not even be playing here anymore, but like Derek Barnes, he proved that he could be a good linebacker. Y'all gave up on him after 1 year, and after 2 years, he's just going to be average, wasted pick. And then in the third year, he kind of breaks out a little bit, and this year he got injured. It's going to hurt his money out there a little bit. But Derek Barnes gave up on him, and he ends up being a quality player. Even Levi Onwuzurike. He had a career year last year, but only in reserve. And he stepped up. I mean, at least PFF liked what he did. He might earn some money. Maybe the Lions bring him back. Probably wouldn't even be a popular deal. But, you know, he was injured, but we gave up on him. So don't give up on players. Terrion Arnold, there's absolutely no reason to give up on Terrion Arnold. Did you guys watch it when we had, you know, Will Harris back there with Jerry Jacobs? Hello? Terrion Arnold was way better than any of those guys, and that was just his rookie year. He's going to have a whole offseason, 3 years, then you can grade these guys. If you really want to grade a draft class, grade 2021. I mean, even 2022 for that matter. You can grade those too. There's enough tape out there for that. But don't be grading, oh, the last year's draft was so awful. Okay. Well, just to me, I'm thankful to have a team that doesn't have to feature the rookies the first year. So, you know, Rakestraw, you want to call him a bust already because he got injured and was buried on the depth chart? Well, be thankful you got enough good cornerbacks that you don't have to throw your rookies out there. Doesn't mean he's going to be a bust. Means he's going to go into his sophomore year. He's going to keep putting that work in. So, I love that. Backing up your boy. Got to back up your boy. Brad Holmes.
You've had enough of that shit.
Yeah, stop doing that.
It's look, it's
don't give up on players.
I told you guys, it's hard, man. It's not a lot of those guys available. Like, you know, I say, you know, so we lost a star pass rusher, right, due to injury, right? Well, just because you lose a star pass rusher, there's not but so many in the league, anyways, and so just because we lost a star pass rusher due to injury, that doesn't mean that other teams are going to say, hey, we have a star pass rusher. I know you lost one, but we have one. Would you like to have this one? No, that's a star pass rusher for that team, and they're trying to win games. So, and it's not just a trade deadline. It's, you know, free agency and during the year. Like, you know, those guys are hard to find. You know, that's why it's in position. No, but yeah, it's those guys are hard to acquire, and it's hard to keep them financially. You know, again, we have one that's due for an extension, and we've already kind of gotten to the planning stages about him already. And you know, so when you talk about adding another one, it's like, oh, well, all right, can you financially add another one? Because you want to add the other one on top of everything else that you have, and that makes it tough.
Running with it. I mean, probably not. Probably not. You crushed my dreams, Brad Holmes. But you brought me back down to earth. I appreciate that. I am back down to earth. And but one thing is for sure, if they do trade Myles Garrett this offseason, and I still think that they could trade him, but it was very clear that he was not available yet. We're going to play this game. And we had this discussion about a month ago on here, and we were talking about Myles Garrett, and the Browns have all the control. Does Myles have all the control? I mean, we talked about this, right? Oh, but the Browns have all the control. They don't have to trade him. And I was on here, and I'm still planting my flag on this. Myles Garrett has the control. And we're about to find out. Because Myles Garrett's either he's got the control because he wins both ways, right? Here's Myles Garrett. Either I'm going to restructure my contract, you're going to trade me to a contender like I asked. Like the thing that you should do. You shouldn't be blocking that. You know that you screwed the pooch with Deshaun Watson. You know that your next 3 years are going to be trash from a competitive standpoint. And Myles Garrett doesn't want to be 34 years old when the team first starts competing. He wants his prime years to be, and I mean, Matt Stafford did it. You want your prime years to go, and you want a chance to win a title. The Lions weren't in a position to give that to Matt Stafford, so they traded him. The Cleveland Browns should do the right thing by him, restructure his contract, and trade him. But the Browns are the Browns, so we're going to find out who's in control. Because if they don't sign him to the most giant deal ever in history, $40+ million a year probably, for their star DN, if they don't do that, then Myles Garrett's going to sit out. He's already got all the money he needs. They owe him money. They can take game checks away from him, but they got guaranteed money on the table. They still owe him. I'm going to go to a bar in Tahiti, and I'm just going to chill until you guys do right by me. So that'll happen, but that has nothing to do with the Lions. But I know that Brad Holmes ain't going to comment on players that, they're not available. So far, none of these players that we've been dreaming about are actually available. But we're gonna see who's in control. I'm interested because there's the bad guy. Bad guy, you were right. I was wrong. I saw it in Brad Holmes' eyes, and as much as I thought that he might go make a move, I saw it in his eyes. He's just not going to do that. He isn't going to do that. But I had to see it with my own eyes, though, bad guy. Because I read their body language and say different things. Now, if Myles Garrett does become available and they make it public, then I think that he would make a comment on it. But I don't think it at this point. I believe that Brad Holmes believes that he's going to find Myles Garrett at 28. And even though, we don't believe that because Myles Garrett's don't fall out of trees. There's only 7 to 10 pass rushers that are on this level, right? Aiden Hutchinson's in that category, and you don't ever get two of them together. But Zadarius Smith, we haven't even thought about that part of it. And Zadarius Smith and Aiden Hutchinson haven't got a chance to play yet together. And you know, I believe that they're going to go into this draft, you know, especially, okay, if they don't go and make a trade, you know, for you know, a proven veteran player. If they don't do that, then I could see them packaging up picks to trade up to do something like what they did with Terrion Arnold. So, but here, like Rick right here says, I agree with you for the most part, Russ, but year 3 is not changing anything for Brad's biggest mistake. See, you're giving up on a player that's going into his 3rd year. I can give you 3 examples of players that like we would have had this conversation, and I can show you 3 examples of Brad Holmes draft picks that you're wrong, Rick. I love this conversation right here because I'm actually going to make a video on this, because there are some players that have been given up on by the fan base that I could be wrong on. They may not be anything, but with the proven track record of Brad Holmes draft picks, I think there's a better chance than not that they do turn around. I mean, like, look at Levi Onwuzurike. We thought that he was going to be out of the league, already a bust. You know, it was foregone conclusion. He wasted 2nd round pick. And it's possible that he won't play here. But he did develop, get himself healthy, and now he's in line to make some money. Brad Holmes draft pick that we gave up on. Derek Barnes, 2 years. After the 2nd year, everybody's like, he's a bust. Comes into his 3rd year, plays well in his 3rd year, gets it together. Now, he did get injured last year. That could hurt his free agent, but he's going to go somewhere and make some money if he doesn't re-sign here. There you go. Derek Barnes, somebody that was given up on. I get it, right? Failed draft pick, but it's not. You can't say it after 2 years. And when they even tell you up front that it's going to be a developmental thing, that's 1 to 2 years. You're redshirting the 1st year. Now, yeah, Broderick Martin. Now, here's where I'm at with it, Rick. Broderick Martin, just like Colby Sorsdahl, you're going into your 3rd year. You have to show something. This is where you got to show something. Like Josh Pascal, he was in his 3rd year. I'm like, he's got to show something. He did show a little something. But you want him showing out like 2nd round draft pick, Josh Pascal. Now, he showed out to the point where he could probably be a 4th or 5th rotational guy, right? After your top 2, he could be your 3 or 4. Pascal proved that he could be that, but a 2nd round draft pick, I don't know. Do you want to call that a bust yet? I'm willing to give Pascal 1 more year. You know, he showed a little bit. Keep developing. Here you are, contract year. Broderick Martin, you're going in your 3rd year. You should have your feet underneath of you. Right? In this 3rd year, here's what I want to see out of Broderick Martin, Rick. Broderick Martin, get into the rotation. Put up 300 quality snaps. Get better. Put yourself in position that in your contract year, you could be pushing for a starting position. That's where Broderick Martin should be. With his physical gifts, once his mind catches up with the physical gifts, It's a mentality. So, yeah. Broderick Martin, you're in a make or break year. Colby Sorsdahl, you're in the same thing. You know, you've had 2 years of development in there. Either crack the lineup or get passed up. Ifeatu Melifonwu, there's another example of a guy that people gave up on. Now he's a little more injury prone, but he offers a skill set. And don't be surprised if they re-sign all of these guys. I was thinking they were going to go outside. We're going to try to get Myles Garrett. Let's try to make room. No, it just sounds like we want to try to keep as many of our own guys as we can. Now, if Derek Barnes can go out and get max money somewhere, then we'll probably lose him. But I'd love to keep him. But it would be on a affordable type of prove-it deal. Same thing with Ifeatu Melifonwu. These guys are Lions good. Right? They can serve a reserve role purpose. We ain't going to pay you like a starter. You may want to go get starter money. Levi, you may want to go get starter money. You ain't going to get starter money. Not from here. I think that's where they're going to go in free agent. Or maybe they do give Levi a good contract. Would that make you mad if they gave Levi a good contract? Because the reality of it is Levi Onwuzurike could be an ascending player. And he could go somewhere and kill it because he didn't play badly last year at all. As a matter of fact, he had the career year for him. Not second round draft pick. Like I said, Lions good. Broski Bear says there's certain Lions content creators trying to promote signing Davenport again. Really? That ain't here. I mean, signing Davenport again on the 90-man roster? Or what are we talking about here, Broski? I'll sign Davenport to the 90-man roster. Give him a shot, right? I'm definitely not guaranteeing him a spot on the 53. Ricky says, I could see Myles getting moved by the trade deadline. It benefits both sides better. Interesting. I like that. Do you know what else hasn't gotten that rotation? Is that Hutchinson, Zadarius Smith, Davenport, and the rookie edge rusher we could draft. We could use that Alabama linebacker. I noticed that you didn't say Pascal. See, people, when we give up on these players, it's like if you play chess, right? The players, the chess players that can properly use their pawns wins most of the time. And we put as content creators and, our favorite team, Broski, you can identify with this as a Bear fan, but we get fixated on our star players and we don't realize, the depth that goes into it, the deeper that you go on your team, and you want to have quality depth players. So we overlook guys like Josh Pascal. Josh Pascal has not lived up to the second round draft pick that he was taken at. He hasn't lived up to it. But that doesn't mean a second round draft pick can't have a role on a team, even if he's not a starter. You need quality rotation pieces. He's a guy that can play inside and out. And when your star players need a breather, he gives you quality snaps. And he's going into his 4th year, so he's still developing. So he becomes, a 3 or 4 player that's just getting under the radar. He's going to make the team. He is. Oh, man. I mean, I wouldn't call anybody clowns. I mean, the Rocked On Detroit Lions, I've watched their stuff before. I think Will does a good job. I mean, he's got his opinion. You can agree with it or not agree with it. I mean, we're looking at the whole player, right? I mean, Davenport's biggest thing is he can't stay healthy, right? And after a season like the Lions had, I mean, I don't know. Do you really want to mess with that? You really want to go and take another injury risk? Like I said, bring him to the 90 man. Let's see what's going on. Bring him to the 90 man. But I mean, you're not going to give him like a significant contract or anything. Veteran minimum, whatever that is. Bring him in. I don't mind that. But pay him money? Oh. And Broski, like promoting the Ken and Ken morning. Yeah, if you're a Bear fan, go on over and watch Ken and Ken in the morning. I went over a little bit on here. All right. I'm not gonna crap on any of those guys right there, but I do, I want to promote our guys. The grinders. I'm the UDFA of sports podcasting. So I want to promote the grinders. Like the developmental pieces. I didn't get a chance to go to Dan Campbell on here, and I'm not going to get a chance to because I can't go any longer. But I'm putting a shout out to all those grinders, the ones that are going to pay dividends and prove all the haters wrong. I'm a supporter of you, Giovanni Manu. I'm a supporter of you, 3rd year Colby Sorsdahl. I'm a supporter of you, 3rd year Broderick Martin. I am a supporter of you, Hendon Hooker, as a reserve quarterback. I am a supporter of the developmental process that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have instilled right here in Detroit. And you can't deny it. I mean, if you want to go micromanage Goff's 2 worst games, I mean, the other one we won out of his 2 worst games. It's like we micromanage the losses. I mean, let's be honest. The Lions have only lost 4 games in the last 2 years. And we spend most of our offseason talking about those 4 losses. I know 3 of them that come up just the most often. You lose to the Packers on Thanksgiving. That one comes up all the time. And it's like that obviously hasn't defined what the Lions are doing. The other one is You know, the playoff game, the 2 playoff games, and any game that Goff turned the ball over a lot. And it's like, outside of that, Goff has been incredibly consistent. You know, it's like you want him to be perfect, and nobody is perfect. So that's what I encourage y'all to do. We're going to get set. We're going to re-sign some of our own players this offseason. That's what it sounds like to me. That's the loud and clear message I got from Brad Holmes right there. Is we are going to re-sign all of our players. And we won't have much money after that. And it's probably true. Kirby extension, Hutchinson extension, and I got a feeling that they're going to extend Carlton Davis, Kevin Zeitler, probably like one of the or more of the, you know, the Levi Onwuzurike's and Derek Barnes, Ifeatu Melifonwu. I mean, that might be the offseason. They might just re-sign those guys. I mean, what do? Bring back Carlton Davis. Bring back Kevin Zeitler. Extend Kirby. Extend Hutch. I mean, that's pretty close. That's got to be pretty close to $70 million right there. That might be all the money. And then go into the draft and do your thing. Keep it going. This is the Lion Villain Report. Thank you, everybody, for watching. My name is Russell Wayne at 313Villain on X. This episode is brought to you by Fantatics.com, our affiliate marketing partners right there. You can get that Lions pullover hoodie. Scan it in the Villain link. Save up to 25% off of your order from our affiliate marketing partners at Fanatics. It's faith, family, and then football in that order. I'm coming on here as needed. I may be back tomorrow because I didn't get to the Dan Campbell one. Trying to get good at this. Going to make some more videos. Make sure you check out the Ifeatu Melifonwu video that I have. I got a Derek Barnes one, a Kevin Zeitler one, the free agent profiles right there. And it's faith, family, then football in that order. And I'm going to take off out of here. So may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again in Jesus' name. Amen.